Okay, so we are back in the garage. We've done our maintenance. Now it's time to actually get this thing running well and add some power, right? And there's a couple things I'm going to take off of here, and there's also a couple of things I want to add. But the very baseline thing that we're going to do is a compression test. So I have actually ordered a compression tester a long time ago, and it should fit this car. It has the 14mm thread pitch that we need for our spark plugs. So you take a look at whatever that spark plug size is, and that's what you're going to use. And it has adapters, so you have to be a little bit careful, but we'll get into that. But step number one for this is the most fun step. The engine needs to be running temp. So let's go take it for a drive, and we'll pop the hood, start the compression test. Oh, we've been doing so well not using this, but I just don't want to burn up that starter. So just open up the air box here. A little bit of starting fluid. We'll fire right up. See, we've got the temp is still reading. It's just over C, so that's usually enough to turn off our automatic chokes. There's a choke keeping it at 2 grand. And there it goes. So, happier now, quieter, easier to drive. Let's go take it for a spin and just get it fully warmed up. Alright, just pulled back into the garage. Temp is up to where we need it to be for operating, and I just need to get it back up on the boards in case we need to get underneath if we do the headers before we take it back out. Alright. So why do a compression test? What is a compression test telling us? To understand that, you need to understand a little bit about what a car does when it's running. So an engine, when it runs, it has a various number of cylinders. We're talking 4-stroke engines here. That's most modern engines are going to be 4-stroke engines. There are 2-stroke applications still in marine mostly, and maybe tractor equipment like that I know of. But most modern cars will have a 4-stroke engine, and what 4-stroke means is there's 4 cycles. There's suck, squeeze, bang, and blow. So suck, the engine pulls in air. Squeeze, the engine compresses air. Bang is when you get your ignition, you ignite your air and your fuel that you have just squeezed with a spark plug. And then blow is when that literally pushes back and opens the cylinder back up. And to understand what that's doing, you have a cylinder, this car is a 4-cylinder, so you have cylinder walls, and in each cylinder is a a piston with rings, and then a connecting rod, which will go down to a crankshaft. And as that crankshaft is rotating, basically all this stuff has to be in time for engines with tight clearances, as the crankshaft rotates, the piston is going to travel up and down, and the rings on that outside of the piston are basically what creates a really good seal. And as that travels up, it's going to compress what should be fuel and air before the spark lights it on fire. Now, doing a compression test, we're replacing our spark plug with basically a piece of mechanical equipment that can gauge how much pressure is being put during that compression stroke. And that will tell us basically how much our components are really holding pressure. So our cylinder wall is good, is the head of the engine. So there's, the block of the engine where that piston's going to sit. There's the head where the camshaft and valves are in the case of an overhead cam engine. And it will kind of tell us, if it takes a while to go up, it'll tell us if there's a sticky valve. If the pressure isn't very high, we'll kind of know, okay, that cylinder isn't good, there's something wrong there, whether it's an issue with the piston or it could be the rings. And then also when you go to do a leak down test, what you're testing there is really how well is that stuff holding as you put pressure on it instead of as it puts pressure upwards. When you leak down, you're testing it, and really the piston rings give, it's a pretty good indication of how good they are. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the ignition components off. We're going to put the spark plugs in, and then we're going to crank the engine over on each cylinder to tell us what things are looking like. So let's get started on that. So we have to set up our equipment a little bit. What we have is our overall gauge. It looks like a tire gauge, and the idea is the same. It tells you how much pressure is being applied to it. Here we have the hose that's going to basically connect the gauge to the engine. What I'm going to do here is actually pull the release back and put that in there. And then we have various adapters, right? So this can work on multiple vehicles with different thread sizes for spark plugs. So what we have is this is supposed to be the 14 millimeter. They're not marked anyway. This wasn't a very expensive compression testing gauge, but it does have good reviews. And we're going to basically put that adapter on, and what it says is to hand tighten that because we don't want to crush that O-ring too much. But I'm going to hand tighten it as tight pretty much as I can go because I'm really afraid of leaving this adapter piece in there, but I think we'll be okay. So that's on there pretty good. What I'm going to do next is set up the car. So pull those ignition components off and we'll start cranking over each cylinder. All right, so to start, we're pulling this ignition coil connection off. And that basically means no matter what I do now, the ignition can't fire. Basically all of the power that is drawn to the distributor cap comes from this ignition coil. So our ignition can't fire now no matter what I do. So now I'm going to pull the plug wires off and pull the spark plugs out. Engine's nice and hot from our little drive. Try to be careful with these.
Yeah.
It's one out, and I'm going to keep them in order to go right back in the same order I brought them all out. So, one out, let's finish all four. What we'll see here is that I went down and screwed in the compression tester right down here. Just hand tightened it in. And then you'll see this amazing contraption I've created to kind of just hold it up so it's visible. I changed my tactic a bit. I'm actually going to leave the spark plugs in the cylinders for now, just to prevent other crap from falling in there. Let's check them out one at a time. There's no way these can ignite. I mean, there's nothing hooked up, right? So literally all the ignition's off, so we have nothing to worry about there. So I'm gonna crank it over, handful of times, see what we get for a number, and I'm actually gonna use the video to review to see how quickly it goes up, and if it, pauses it apart or waits for a while. I'll know that there could be other issues as well, like I said, valve sticking, things like that. Hopefully we crank up and get some good numbers here. I know it's probably a little bit hard to see, but we should be able to get some idea. Well, that was quick, and it scared me a little bit, but that's 150 on the nose. So that's awesome. I'm going to pull this back out, put the spark plug back in, rinse, repeat, and we'll get all four compression numbers. Just being extra careful there. I would use kind of the hose rebound, so if I saw this inside adapter starting to twist more than the outside actual spark plug hole, I would twist it back to the right a little bit tight and then keep going left, and it seemed to let me work it out. So nerve-wracking for sure. The last thing you want to do is screw up the threads in your head, but yeah, we're getting it done. We're gonna put that back in and move on to the next one. Side note, if you look at this plug, you can see it's a little bit white with black on top. So it seems like it might be running a little bit lean. You don't want to run lean. That's when you get pinging, detonation, and you can break your car. You can do damage to the cylinder. So I'm going to see if I can set this to run a little bit richer. I might not do it right away. We are doing a header and side draft carb, so we're going to have to dial everything back in anyway. And it's been running like this for a couple of years, and it's been okay. It's obviously still got good pressure in the cylinder. So it's definitely something I'm going to keep an eye on though.
Yeah.
I'm just re-snugging everything. That one, I don't think I tightened it any harder. I didn't really re-tighten it from the last cylinder. And I had to use a little pick. I got nervous at first, and then I just tried to relax. And I used a long pick and tried to grab these grooves and apply pressure and twisting force backwards without trying to, snug this inside one anymore. So I just eventually was able to push and turn and get this eventually rotate it all the way back out. So fun. Something to keep in mind if you're going to compression test, make sure you either have really long pliers, a couple really long picks kicking around, so that'll kind of help you if you need to back stuff out. So we're reading here about 137, so about the same as cylinder 2. When two adjacent ones are like that, there could be something going on in the head. It could be a head gasket, something like that. So it's something for me to keep in mind on if I want to kind of pop the head off of this and do, like camshaft work, to keep an eye on that. The little pick trick is key. If you can just get the momentum started, then it comes right out. So something to keep in mind, if you're doing this, use a pick, get it right up against there, and as you're starting to get that rotation back, use this to help the lower adapter, that is the actual size of the spark plug. Make sure you use that and get that rotating at the same time as the tube, because then it comes right out. So that one was much easier once I kind of had a little practice at it. So that came out slightly lean, just like the others. Not too worried about it at the moment. Let's get the compression tester back in there and get our numbers. We're reading right about 135 again. Yeah. Alright, so the compression test is done. Nothing catastrophic, not where I would have loved for it to have been, but nothing I'm too worried about. I think we can throw some power at it and not worry about like massive failure. And if we do, let's get a 20-hour and rebuild it. I've never rebuilt an engine, so let's try that next. But what I'm going to do is put the ignition components back on in the same order I took them off, and just start it, make sure it still starts after I'm done with it. Yeah, but not bad so far. Intimidating, but not so bad. That's where it's supposed to be. I think we're good. Let's see if she starts up. Success! We didn't total it. We have a compression number, so we know what we're working with. We have a baseline. Alright, so we got the compression test done, and the car started right up. So what were our final numbers? Cylinder 1 had 150, 2 had 137, 3 had 135, and the 4th had 132. They all looked like they were slightly lean, but I checked the manual, compared pictures. I think they're fine. It was just a little bit, they've just basically been heat cycled at this point. It's not the numbers I was hoping for, but it's not catastrophic. So again, I went back to my factory manual and took a look through. And what I saw, that brand new, if this had a fresh rebuild on it, I should be looking at 156 per cylinder, and then no cylinder should be 20% off from that. So that'd be 30 pounds off from that, 32 pounds. What I found was that we have 150 on the first cylinder, which is great. The other three are right around 135. One's a little bit higher, one's right on, one's a little bit lower. And then those are both within 20%. Is it ideal? No. If it was, would I go like racing with this engine and be excited about it? No. But is it okay to try to put a little power through, especially since my gains are gonna be what, 10 horsepower, 15 horsepower? Yeah, I think we're gonna be fine. And if we blow it up, like I said, let's buy an engine, rebuild it, do a new one, do something new and interesting that I haven't done before, just like this compression test. The last time we were in there, we also did an ignition coil replacement, so that's already been done. It was listed down here, but we didn't cross it off last time. I do want to do leak down test. I don't have the tool at the moment. I probably won't be able to get it in a little while. I could just run down to Harbor Freight. So I may do it shortly, but in the meantime, I've got other stuff I want to do. I want to get on this. It's about to be fall. I might save the leak down test for a better idea of how the rings are doing until middle of the winter when I'm not really driving it and pulling all this stuff apart again. Yeah, so that's it. Next time, we'll take a look at the igniter. We might do the headers. I need to get that done while it's still nice out so I can get the bottom exhaust hooked up, and you've got them in a box back there. So that's exciting. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
As always, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. It would really help me out. Tune in next time as we work on the Celica.